First word that we're covering today is inheritance. So the synonyms for inheritance are endowment, bequest, legacy, birthright, heritage. What are the opposites or antonyms for this? Inheritance, disownment, alienation, bequeathment, and divestiture. Let's move on to understand the differences between these words. So when we say inheritance, that means something that has been passed down to you as your legacy or something that you have inherited from your elder, let's say parents or grandparents. So number one word is legacy. So its usage in sentence becomes, the family fortune was passed down as a legacy to the eldest son. Then we have bequest. How do we use bequest? The old mention was a bequest from the wealthy uncle. So bequest again means the same as inheritance, but is used is in a different form. Then we have endowment. The charitable foundation was established with a generous endowment from the philanthropist. Next we have heritage. The cultural heritage of the indigenous community was passed down through traditional storytelling. Birthright. The inheritance from her parents allowed her to pursue her dreams without financial worries. Okay, the sentence here is faulty. So when we are using birthright, you can say that the house or let's say some of the property was passed down to her as her birthright. Moving on to the opposites or antonyms of inheritance, the disinheritance of my youngest son caused a rift in the family. So rift is a sort of a fight or difference between a family. Then we have number two, disownment. Alienation. The alienation of the community from their traditional land was a tragic outcome of the development project. Bequeathment. The bequeathment of their estate to a charitable foundation was a surprise to the family. Divestiture. The divestiture of the company's non-core assets was a strategic move to focus on their core business. So the next word we'll be covering is a friend. So the synonyms for friend are acquaintance, comrade, cohort, confidant, and companion. And the opposites for that would be enemy, foe, adversary, antagonist, and rival. Now let's look at a sentence for each one of these. So looking at the words that are similar to friend, number one is companion. My companion and I have been traveling together for weeks. Number two is acquaintance. Now, acquaintance is not a friend essentially. Acquaintance is someone you only know. So when you use the word acquaintance, it is only used for someone that you've only recently met or you have met once or twice. So I only recently met this acquaintance at a party. Comrade. My comrade and I fought together in a war. So when you say this word, you mean someone who is basically a partner with you, and is especially used for people who are in army or like fighters. Cohort. My cohort in the study group always helps me with the material. Confidant. So confidant is someone you confide in, as the word suggests. When you mean confide, that means you trust them with your secrets. I trust my confidant completely to keep our conversations private. And the words that are opposite of friend are, number one, clearly enemy. My enemy and I have been adversaries for years. Foe. He is my foe and I want nothing to do with him. Adversary. My company's main adversary is their biggest competitor. Antagonist. So antagonist is mostly used in terms of you have mostly must have heard this word whenever you're watching pictures. So there's a protagonist, that's the main lead, and then there's the antagonist, which is the villain or the enemy in the picture, or let's say a noun. The protagonist and antagonist are locked in a battle for power. Then we have rival. My rival's company is also bidding for the same contract. So rival is mostly used when you're talking about business or something professional. You use the word rival. So the next word we'll be covering today is beautiful. So we have used this word multiple times in our daily conversations, but how could you replace it, or what other words can be used in place of beautiful? So we have word ravishing, we have exquisite, we have bewitching, spectacular, and magnificent. And what are the antonyms for the word beautiful? We have unattractive, hideous, ghastly, repugnant, appalling, grotesque. Let's look out the sentence example for each one of them. So number one, we have magnificent. The magnificent mount ranges extended up to 15 miles. Exquisite. The artwork exhibited at the gallery was exquisite. Bewitching. So bewitching means something that catches your attention or is captivating. His eyes were so bewitching that I lost the track of my thoughts for a minute. Spectacular. The view from the rooftop was spectacular. Spectacular is mostly used for a view. Let's say the hilly top, the view from the hilltop was spectacular. Ravishing. He looked ravishing in his wedding dress. So ravishing is a compliment that you can give someone who's looking very good in their attire or outfit. Now, what are the antonyms or synonyms for unattractive? So the next word that we have here is provide. The synonyms for provide are deliver, grant, yield, present, and supply. And the opposites would be for withhold, deny, deprive, withdraw, and recant. So the words that are similar to provide are supply, sentence. The company is able to supply the necessary materials for the project. Deliver. He delivered the package to my house this morning. Grant. The foundation granted the organization a large sum of money. Yield is to get something out of, some other thing. So the land yields a bountiful harvest. So yield is always in terms of, you can use yield is also used in terms of farming, something that can be taken out of, let's say, land, or in general from, a substance. Number 5, present. He presented the report to the board of directors. Now the antonyms would be withhold. The company decided to withhold the release of the new product. Deny. The school denied the students' request for extra time on the test. Deprive. The government deprived the citizens of their basic rights. Withdraw. The bank withdrew, that's the opposite of provide, withdrew the support for the project. Recant. He recanted his earlier statement and admitted to being involved in the crime. Moving on to the slide, we learned the word provide. So provide is same as deliver. That means to give something. Grant is mostly used in terms of sums when you give, grant money or provide money to some organizations. Then we have yield, which is used in the context of farming or mostly when something can be taken out of the other thing. Present is to show, and to supply is, of course, to supply is to provide with a particular amount of units to something, let's say to an organization. The antonyms of provide are withhold. Withhold is when you're keeping something to yourself. Deny is when you reject something. Deprive is something when you don't give it to the other person. Withdraw is taking it back, and recanting is again taking something that has that has been given or keeping it from them.